Hey guys, Demon Hunter here. Hope all is well. Hey, I just wanted to go ahead and touch on Optogentics. Okay, I'm gonna share a video here, kind of touching on this now, because I believe once again that they're using light frequencies to be able to access subject's pineal gland, and that the sun sim is actually an all-seeing eye apparatus, surveillance apparatus, as much as it is as a sun sim. And again, this is an esoteric photo showing you the sun sim up there, or alleged sun, tapping into a subject's pineal gland with a reference of the peacock. And again, the peacock is found at the Vatican. Okay, and let alone found throughout different cultures. But that's what I believe they're doing. I believe they're looking to hijack the pineal gland through the remote, the targeted individual program. Okay, but they're using light frequencies to be able to do so. And here it says, how does optogenetics work? Currently, optogenetics experiments rely on extracting opsins, light-sensitive proteins, from plants, which can be introduced to mammals by methods including injection and infection via adenovirus. Once delivered into an organism, opsins can be expressed in eye, brain, or skin cells, allowing their light sensitivity to be remotely activated or silenced with time pulses of light in different color wavelengths across the light spectrum that can target multiple bodily systems and cause a variety of biological effects. So I think there's a direct connection with that. So it can target precisely, okay, so if targeted precisely with enough or the appropriate light, it's thought that optogenetics can be used by manipulating neural circuits involved with pain, fear, reward, wakefulness, and social behaviors. And like I've said, my friend who's in Ireland, Liz Raffi, she's caught these lights coming down, and she believes she's a targeted individual potentially. So let's check this out, and you can see how a light source comes down as this jogger runs by. See that? One more time. Okay. And it looks like it's coming from an aerial, perhaps, but or even the sun sim, which again I believe is a surveillance apparatus. It's the all-seeing eye. Satan looking to be omnipresent, like Yahweh, inverting, polluting, twisting. This is another one. Look at the rain. The rain has got these light pulses in it that Liz had caught as well. So is this optogenetics, and is this what they're using to target individuals, eventually getting them plugged into the one hive mind? So, and when, especially when you got here Bill Gates with his transhumanism ad, one-eyed symbolism with the Borg, the black cube, the D wave, resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. SKYNET atop the dome with his one-eyed symbolism, right? The Borg, the cube, microwave cube 666, become assimilated. The D wave 2000 Q. Is Q PSYOP? Is that the AI? Is that the quantum computer here? Bill Gates again, one-eyed symbolism. You got the X, the box. The box is the cube. It's the pyramid. The black cube. Whose web will it be? It's going to be Satan's web. Is SKYNET. the cloud, smart dust confinement dome that's all around us, that they're looking to plug us into, the surveillance apparatus, master of the universe, Satan, having fallen like lightning. And this is Bill Gates with all his messianic brotherhood, the serpent seed, who just happened to wear the black cube on their heads, right? You know, the black cube, Saturn, Satan worship, the statues everywhere, the UN. Okay, so it's all connected. It's the eye in the sky. It's the eagle eye. It's their surveillance platform for their targeted individual program, getting everybody plugged into the one hive mind, AI, Satan consciousness, the 9/11, the two becoming the one, the enmity within looking to take over, the Alan Parsons Project, old and wise, eye in the sky. And again, Satan is raw. He's radium. He's radiating the planet with his EMF, wireless frequencies, and his Gwen towers, and his 5G tower network, all aimed at the transhumanism agenda. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. Now you guys go ahead and watch this next video, which I think is going to pretty much blow you away. And two, I'll just show you this again. So in short, just for any newcomers, I'll just do this real quick. The opening limpets, they're cryptically telling you they're able to simulate the constellations, okay? They got a live augmented virtual reality up there. They're already claiming they're, have their, China plans to launch its own artificial moon by 2020. Okay, a man-made meteor shower launched by satellite could open the 2020 Olympic Games. So you got Star Trek, which is stars on tracks, okay? Stars on tracks. So they've created a augmented virtual reality up there, capable of simulating anything that they want. Apollyon's cap the dome, okay? So, and we'll start the video here right after this. So, and again, you've got their Asgardia. They're even telling you this is their low Earth orbit satellite under the dome. They're even showing you the dome. It's a partnership of the UN. The Space Kingdom Asgardia has its own flag and anthem, is a fully fledged and independent nation and a future member of the United Nations. Okay, but meanwhile, this is their logo. It's an ICU processing unit, CPU processing unit, plugging folks into the one hive mind with the IRA, the 666, right in your face, with the sun simulator, with its Lord of the Rings. It's the Lord of the Rings. It's the Dyson sphere around the sun sim. That paper thin veil caught here. You know? You can see all the diodes around it. And these diodes are what showed up in a time lapse feed here. So there's like a huge, massive Elysium style base around the sun, Dyson sphere, going on. And it's the eye in the sky. It's the all-seeing eye. It's the Satan inverting, twisting, polluting everything of Yahweh, having created his own smart dust canopy, artificial sky canopy dome within Yahweh's enclosed structure. So he's simulating everything up there now. The UFOs, the stars, the constellations, the moons, Planet X, everything. And at the same time, it's a surveillance apparatus. It's where the Borg's at. Right here. The Borg. He's simulating everything up there. It's the cube. Saturn, Satan worship. Okay, so, and then you've also got here on the magazine, it's May 1996, so you got your 666s there. So you got the Borg also with these light spectrums coming down, your optogentics, your frequency light pulses, remotely controlling and targeting subjects below, plugging them into the one hive mind that we talked about. Okay, and then you also got the NASA patch, the Pan, the Horn God. Okay, Palladium Stadium at night with Apollyon having, you know, at the very top, the Phoenix with Atlas, and Atlas is their surveillance program network. The all-seeing eye. Okay, So again, you got Yahweh's enclosed structure in red, and then in blue you've got Satan's artificial smart dust confinement dome simulating all the constellations. Satan set his kingdom up in the sides of the north being up, Polaris, the North Star, God's throne room, having inverted, twisted, polluting everything of Yahweh, looking to be omnipresence with his all-seeing eye surveillance apparatus, while simulating the moon, the sun, the meteorites, Planet X, and Yahweh's real sun, real moons outside this artificial smart dust canopy. And Satan's, just radiating the entire planet with its 5G towers. It's the Gwen towers. I got 300 copper spoke wheels underground aimed at altering it. God's natural earth frequency. Looking to have humans become 2.0. Satan looking to set his kingdom up in the hearts of man, replacing Yahweh. Yahweh dwells in the hearts of man, not a machine. And Satan's looking to set his kingdom up in the hearts of man via the transhumanism agenda. Humans 2.0. All right, you guys enjoy this next video. It's very telling and very informative on Optogentics and what their plans are here. All right, you guys have a mighty blessed one. Stay armored up. Know that Jesus loves you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
Given the insanity that we are seeing in the general public these days about the willingness to throw away their rights, whether it be the right to bear arms, the right of free speech, the right to assembly, or the freedom to due process, it makes one wonder what the hell is going on.
How did people get like this?
How are people seemingly arguing against their self-interest and feeling no compunction about it?
I'm going to take you on a tour of what is really happening behind the curtains in the world, all of which are being portrayed as necessary actions for the greater good of humanity. In 2013, former President Barack Obama was announcing his administration's brain research through advancing innovative neurotechnologies. The study, describing a way to manipulate a lab animal's brain circuitry accurately enough to turn behaviors both on and off. The point of the remote control mouse is not to create an army of robo-rodents, but to perfect a technique that will control the behavior by activating and deactivating neurons. The technique used to control neurons is called DREADS, designer receptors exclusively activated by designer drugs. Because the receptor does not respond to other molecules, including natural ones in the brain, the only way to activate the neurons is via the human-made ones. DREADS allow scientists to manipulate neurons without implanting anything in the brain. Look at this. Current optogenetic experiments rely on extracting opsins, light-sensitive proteins, from plants which can be introduced to mammals by methods including injection and infection via adenovirus. What they do is they genetically engineer a receptor that can get into a person through a viral vector, and what that means is through an injection of the vaccine or through the contraction of an adenovirus which has been modified. You might think, oh well, I just won't get injected, and I won't go anywhere where I can get this adenovirus. Adenovirus. There's 52 of them. And they range from the common cold, fever, sore throat, pink eye. They're prevalent. So that's creepy, because if you look at what it says, DREADS allows scientists to manipulate neurons without implanting anything in the brain. It indeed makes one wonder, given what we see today in the general public. You do need to take the designer drug, though, to make this effective. Once delivered into an organism, opsins can be expressed in eye, brain, or skin cells, allowing their light sensitivity to be remotely activated or silenced with timed pulses of light in different color wavelengths across the light spectrum that can target multiple bodily systems and cause a variety of biological effects. If targeted precisely enough with the appropriate light, it's thought that optogenetics could be used by manipulating neural circuits involved with pain, fear, reward, wakefulness, and social behaviors.
There's this enormous mystery waiting to be unlocked. And the BRAIN Initiative will change that by giving scientists the tools they need to get a dynamic picture of the brain in action and better understand how we think and how we learn and how we remember. And that's part of what this Brain Initiative is about.
If scientists can turn on or off specific targeted groups of neurons at will, they place themselves in between the natural human experience and basically their keyboard. They place themselves between you and your natural human reactions to things. So, optogenetics looks like the way to go. But how do you get people to put wires in their heads? Well, you can't. But it turns out now you don't have to. Here we have the new development in optogenetics. Luminopsins, luminescent opsins or LMOs, were developed to achieve combined chemo and optogenetic manipulation. Luminopsins allow manipulation of neuronal activity over a range of spatial and temporal scale in the same experimental animal. What they are saying here is not only can they turn on specific reactions, but they can also turn off those same reactions. A problem they were having with the other methods is they could only do one. They could either stimulate the receptor or suppress the receptor. With the combined chemo-optogenetic manipulation, they can do both. They're using luminopsins, so they don't need the wiring anymore. Basically, science can use these luminopsins to interfere with a person's free will. The other function of optogenetics is just a simple observation. They might want to know how you feel about seeing a particular image, how that image changes the next thing you do. Basically, the scientists can understand what exactly is going on in our bodies and our minds, but to do that, it can't be invasive. Well, what have you noticed proliferating on the market for the last 8 years? Microsoft Band. It'll record all the stuff going on in your body. Same with Google Fit or Apple Watch. This Muse head-brain sensing headband is even scarier. There's also 23andMe, which collects your genetic data. Imagine if they had a combination of all these things. All of this is attached to your smartphone. So it's not so much the device, it's the smartphone monitoring that's the dangerous part. Because who's getting that data? And what are they doing with it? Look at what it says here. This is from 2016. Towards a psychophysics of interoceptive processes, the measurement of heartbeat detection. Over the past 50 years, research on interoception has grown exponentially from 17 citations of interocept in 1965 to 8,440 in 2015, Web of Science. The early Russian work was summarized in Razran's landmark article on the subject and demonstrated, inter alia, that interception participated fully in the intersensory processes of Pavlovian conditioning. They want to know all of our interoceptive data because it plays directly into Pavlovian conditioning. You can change anybody's behavior if you know how to manipulate those feelings inside them when they are experiencing something. You do that over and over and over, and you actually change their whole physiological responses to it. Have you ever wondered if we are going towards that future? A world that is entirely sending feedback regularly to some processor somewhere? Is there a prison around us of electronic biofeedback and manipulation? Let's say there will be a flu virus, all the common adenoviruses, and they had this modified dread receptor in there. We would never know, and it would be in there, in our body, just waiting to be activated by the designer drug or by light activation. Maybe it sounds paranoid, or maybe not. You've been served with the opportunity to decide what to believe.
The secrecy that surrounds this issue is so extraordinary that most presidents are not briefed on it, and if they're briefed in a way that is perfunctory and very, very limited and designed to control their actions. It's not the 1%, it's the 0.0000001% who would not benefit from this because they are the ones sitting atop the petrodollar system, the macroeconomic order. For the most part, presidents since Eisenhower have not had appropriate access control. Now, what I mean access control? This means not only access to the program, but control over them. And people need to make, at the very beginning, a very clear understanding between knowing and being able to do anything about it. So every single president has been interested in this. Famously, Jimmy Carter, as he was the president-elect, asked the outgoing CIA director, George Bush Sr., to brief him on this issue, and President-elect Carter was told by then outgoing CIA Director Bush that he would not tell him about this issue, and he didn't say he didn't have information. He said, "I will not share that with you," and directed him to get it from the Congressional Research Service, believe it or not, to saying that to the incoming President of the United States. This is well documented in Disclosure Project witness testimony from people who were privy to what happened.
One of the discoveries that emerged out of modern quantum theory is that so-called empty space isn't really empty at all. It's actually full of energy. So instead of being like kind of a quiet, empty lake, it's more like the froth at the base of a waterfall or something. And this energy is basically electromagnetic in nature, and the energy density is quite high. There's enough energy in the volume of a coffee cup to, say, evaporate all the world's oceans if you could get it all of it. There's enough energy in the volume of a coffee cup to, say, evaporate all the world's oceans.
We have the giant industrial, or really economic cartels in energy. And it's not one cartel, there are many, many groups in energy, and each of those has become very powerful in its own area, and each one does not wish to see simple little electrical taps pulling out enormous energy from the vacuum. They would much rather see you burning a lot more oil and so forth.
The secret behind these UFO propulsion systems and energy systems would give us an entirely new planet. Beautiful.
Okay, guys, now this next video segment is just going to be talking about the sentient world simulation that they're creating, a live augmented virtual reality within Satan's Smart Dust Confinement Dome. All right, enjoy.
Could we ever program reality? Utility fog, a concept theorized by nanoengineer John Storrs Hall, who suggested that a collective of nanotechnological devices called foglets could link together into a complex aerial swarm network. Hall initially came up with this idea as a way to prevent trauma in car crashes by stiffening the air inside the car. However, if this idea were to be extended to the atmosphere of our planet, then we'd be able to conjure things out of thin air, like wizards. If these foglets were to be directed by an AI, they could be morphed into any structure that the user finds convenient. A whole planet made up of these foglets gives us the concept of a heaven world, somewhat like the idea of a simulation heaven that we see in VR, except that this would be real life. Think of utility fog as a video game, where the characters can leap off the screen and interact with you, disassembling and reassembling themselves into furniture, landscapes, or food, anytime, anywhere. The surface of these heaven worlds would be covered in what we call programmable matter, also known as smart dust. The grains of sand under your feet are all actually robots of three-dimensional tactile material that can reshape and reform itself to suit your deepest desires. If the nanobots that make up this smart dust become cheap and plentiful enough, it would truly be bridging the gap between man and what anyone from the Dark Ages would consider a god. On a heaven world, the very dirt we walk in and the air we breathe will contain AI-directed nanites, a custom universe where you'll no longer be able to tell virtual reality from actual reality. At this point, it will no longer matter if the universe is a programmed simulation, because you'll be able to rewrite that program anyway. In fact, Google's director of engineering, Ray Kurzweil, has suggested that these nanomachines would unconditionally guarantee immortality, replacing every cell in our body until we become a collective of nanites ourselves.
D-Wave's computer runs the mirror of the entire planet.
Sentient World Simulation is a matrix-like reality simulating humanity.
You are connected as an organic computer.
You can do that by programming the third strand of DNA to upload our minds, our consciousness, our memories, our self-awareness into a computer. The Model 512 in 2013, Gordy Rose described as having the equivalent processing power of 7 billion human brains.
You are connected as an organic computer.
Purdue University published a draft white paper in 2006 describing a sentient world simulation, a mirror, a virtual reality of the entire planet and all its inhabitants. 2007, it went live. If I had my graphics up, I'd show you the progression of the model numbers of the computers coincide with the implementation of the virtual world. D-Wave's computer runs the mirror of the entire planet.
So the reason why I want you to pay close attention when you're looking at those big black boxes is that inside those boxes is a point, a chip, upon which is happening something that has never happened in the history of the Earth. It's an engineered thing which has become a nexus point for all of these parallel realities. The shadows of all of these different universes intersect at a physical point inside of one of those boxes. You can think of it as a portal.
The DNA world and the digital world are becoming rapidly interchangeable. So all of life as we know it can be sent as digital code through the internet or as an electromagnetic wave.
Let me just ask you before Craig goes on, how many of you are having trouble with this notion of digital code going over the internet and the notion of something living that's being converted back and forth like that? I mean, do you have some sense of what is going on? Can I show of hands how many people have trouble grokking this idea?
You just interconvert the DNA language with the ones and zeros in the computer, and you can send DNA as ones and zeros and recapitulate it at the other end. So we've successfully, and so with DARPA, we built synthetic genomics, the receiving unit.
Essentially, it is a nano-thin coating of gold that allows for the imparting of digital information onto that third strand of DNA.
We're now at this era where we can interconvert the biological and digital information. And so one implication of that is to be able to send biology as a digital magnetic wave. And we've been working with NASA on a sending unit.
They're not terrifically powerful yet, but they're doing something completely different than what your computer does. And that thing is like flight. It gives these computers access to these new resources, maybe you could call them parallel universes, in order to do something that you couldn't otherwise do.
And that is the electromagnetic linking between a genetically modified human comprised of third strand of DNA and the adiabatic quantum computer.
What they're going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's the crux of our future as humans. And that's, can we build machines like us?
The ultimate aim would be to archive enough data on each individual to be able to make a computer model of everyone on the planet.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe?
What we're building in the computer databases represents real life and is both the information that's necessary and sufficient to drive all DNA-based life forms.
Remember, going back to the Sentient World Simulation, peer-reviewed white paper out of Purdue University in 2006. The program went live in 2007, describing humans as a node. And every person on the planet is represented in the computer software as a node. That's a data node, and given an avatar.
One of the most important things about this world is that robots can make copies easy. Just like we can easily make copies of movies or music, we can make copies of a robot. Robots can travel electronically. Instead of physically moving across the globe, you send their bits across a communication line, download them into something at the other end, and then they're there.
The D-Wave acts as a nexus point between the biological and digital worlds. It creates a bidirectional link between a digital mind and a biological mind. This allows a biological mind to be programmed like a computer. It can augment the human and give an individual superhuman capabilities, or as in the case of targeted individuals, it can be used to destroy a person's life. The voices, images, and sensations a targeted individual perceives are the direct result of being linked to the digital mirror world. It's as if you're in two places at the same time.
You are connected as an organic computer. I mean, this is one of the most quote-unquote conspiratory theories that's been around for many years, decades. But the reality is we're now facing the reality of that. It is no longer a conspiracy. The science is done, and you will see this. And this is the next step on from the virtual reality goggles. And this is why it terrifies me, and this is why I'm trying to wake people up.
NASA, Google, Amazon, the NSA's computing centers, data collection centers like in Utah and Texas, all use D-Waves computers. But they never talk about networking them. They present it to the public as though they operate independently with independent organizations. So how independent is Google? Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Why is he partnered with Google and D-Wave?
I became aware of what I describe as a social engineering program and a research and development program that was being carried out by SIS and our client in Seattle, the Amazon Corporation. And I later learned that they were indeed experimenting with, when I say experimenting, voice-to-skull, hive mind, behavior modification technology that is frequency-based and directed at a targeted individual to basically control their entire person.
The way it works is a device broadcasts a radio frequency, let's say at an individual, and that radio frequency will hook up with the resonant frequency of the individual's mind or body, or in this case, DNA.
The third strand of DNA, our DNA, right now, can be modified through nanoparticles, nanomachines. We have inhaled through the aerosolized chemtrail spraying through our GMO foods. Our environment has polluted us. We have dormant nanocells, nanomachines in our body that will be triggered by microwave impulses.
And what happens is once the resonant frequency is found in the targeted individual and the broadcast frequency matches up with that resonant frequency, those two frequencies interlock and they can be thought of as one frequency or one energy.
The nanoparticles are triggered, your DNA begins to modify in the form of a third strand. We have two strands naturally, a third strand will be developed, and it will change your body and it will change your mind. This comes right out of DARPA. I've read the papers. I understand the process. They have digitized DNA. Remember I said digital DNA coming through the portal. They digitize DNA into binary code. They transmit it through the cloud.
And what happens is between the broadcast frequency and the individual that's receiving the broadcast frequency, once it's resonating, once they are resonating together, a super highway of frequency along which information can be sent is created. And so you can think of it just like fiber optic cables that you use to send signals over the internet that connect people to the internet. It's the exact same thing, only a wireless application of that. And so once you have connected the targeted individual with the frequency and they resonate together, then you have a perfect avenue upon which to send and receive information back and forth. And that's exactly how they manipulate someone's thoughts. They send voices into someone's head. They manipulate their emotions. They manipulate their behavior. And then that's also how they receive back from the individual in real time the vital signs, the emotions, the thoughts, what the person's seeing, what the person's hearing. And then all that information, of course, is rendered on a computer elsewhere via software, and it can be monitored and tracked in real time.
In an environment that's called the Sentient World Simulation, SWS. D-Wave's computer runs the mirror of the entire planet. The Model 512 in 2013, Gordy Rose described as having the equivalent processing power of 7 billion human brains, and each human brain processes a petaflop of data.
This computer is what will run the world. I believe is already, to a certain extent, already running the world. And because it is artificially intelligent, will give rise to the beast and the mark of the beast system, and the single entity that will control everyone, every person on the planet.